Hi everyone, today I'm testing out some watercolours and some watercolour paper from Tiger Stores UK. I saw them when I was shopping last weekend and they were £5 each. Now as you can see here, the paper is very difficult to cut. It's in a block glued all the way around, so you have to kind of feel your way. This lovely colouring page is by Maisie Silk. It's part of her Spring Garden range, which you can buy in her Etsy shop, so I'll leave links below. Now this box of watercolours is very difficult to get open. As you just saw, I wrote "youch" on the screen, and that's because it nearly took my nail off when I tried to open it, but I got in eventually. And all the watercolour blocks come wrapped up in this plastic, so you take all that off and there you go, you're good to go. Now as you can see in this close-up, the watercolours aren't that great quality. You can kind of see how they're not very smooth and they're a bit lumpy. And I must say I wasn't really that impressed with these watercolours. They went on very weak. You couldn't get a weak but smooth lay down, and neither could you get like a nice thick lay down using it a bit more like gouache. It just kind of, I don't know how to describe it, just kind of bobbled up a bit and it was a bit uneven. But I reckon partly the problem was using this little brush that came with it. Now this brush is really cute and I was really pleased that it was included in the box. It's kind of like a miniature flathead brush. It's not bad quality, but as a watercolour brush it's just too small really to hold much water and much colour. So I was really struggling throughout this painting to kind of get enough paint on the brush and get it on the paper in time to create a nice smooth laydown. But in all honesty, the paints just aren't that great quality anyway, so I wouldn't recommend them if you're starting out painting and want to take it seriously. I would actually recommend you go for something a bit more like the Winsor & Newton Cotman range. But anyway, they were good fun to use and they were only £5. And I really like the fact that I can reuse the palette afterwards, and also the little pans. When they're empty I can squeeze out my tubes into it, so that's really cool. Now the paper from Tiger is actually really nice, I really liked it. You can see in this video that it's really textured. It kind of shows up how bad the paint is in a way, because it kind of bubbles up in the indentations, but it is really nice. It's thick paper, it's 300 grams per square inch, but it's quite smooth and soft and kind of made me think of what I imagine to be kind of a bit like a linen effect, or a linen kind of watercolour paper. It's kind of like, I think it's cold pressed because it's got the texture, but then again it's so smooth that I guess you could describe it as hot press, but with the bobbly texture. I don't know, but it is a nice paper. I would recommend getting this pad. You get 20 sheets, but it's difficult to cut the pages apart, as I mentioned earlier. The glue goes all the way around, there's no gap like you get in some other watercolour blocks, so I really struggled to cut it neatly, but I got some pages apart. And another thing to mention here actually is that the watercolour paper is larger than A4, so I actually had to trim it down to fit it into my printer to print out the colouring page. So you get a decent amount of paper for your money. It's pretty good. So yeah, I chose this particular colouring page. It's called Greenhouse because it was a lovely pattern. I really like symmetrical patterns, and I thought it would give me a good chance to try out the paints, all the colours, and have a good go with them. But even after changing my brush to a water brush and going over the paints again, I was still not happy really with the quality, so I ended up going into the painting with my Stabilo fine liners just to add a bit more detail and interest, and it really helped it sort of elevate the look of it. It really helped it to pop. One thing I really like doing when I use this technique is drawing shapes, dots, spirals, circles, things like that, just to add that bit of interest really. And it kind of saved the day here because I really just struggled to get the watercolours to cooperate really and to do what I wanted them to do. So I really enjoyed adding this last layer because I was really happy with how it looked afterwards. So yeah, Tiger Stores UK, they have some fantastic stuff. I've bought several art supplies from them in the past and craft supplies. Very good value for money, and a lot of them are really good quality as well. These watercolours are the first thing that I've bought that haven't been so good, but that said, they do the job. They're good fun to use. I was able to mix the colours I wanted. Maybe the paper just wasn't quite the right kind of paper to use with them, but yeah, definitely other brands of paints that are student quality aren't much more expensive. The Winsor & Newton ones are £7, £8 I think for the box of 12, so in all honesty I would recommend going for those rather than these. But yeah, it was good fun doing this. I really enjoyed it. Thanks to Maisie from My Art Silk for choosing me to use one of her pages.